Hoy pues voy a intentar algo así un poco diferente. Voy a hablar de una noticia que vi aquí en BBC News y bueno, que sea lo que Dios quiera. El formato va a ser un poco distinto, no voy a editar tanto, vais a ver lo que surja, voy a reaccionar un poco a la noticia, pero sobre todo, bueno, la diferencia va a haber que la principal diferencia que va a haber en este vídeo es que va a ser casi todo, aparte de esta introducción, va a ser casi todo en inglés. Y bueno, eso sí, dejaré en la descripción un link para un PDF donde podréis leer el texto original y la traducción al castellano. Pero bueno, ahí ya vamos. Jonathan Agnew to Gary Lineker. Keep your political views private. Well, yeah, I guess that's always, being a public figure, that's always a prudent thing to do, I guess. So, anyway, so what's happened here? Gary Lineker has been criticised by cricket host Jonathan Agnew for expressing his political views on Twitter. Agnew told Lineker that as the face of BBC Sport, he should observe BBC editorial guidelines. So, for anybody, which I imagine most of you, certainly Spanish listeners, are not really going to understand what we're talking about here. Basically, the BBC is supposed to be impartial, and they're not supposed to show their political leanings. That goes for TV hosts and journalists who write for the BBC News website. And it seems that Gary Lineker has developed some kind of it seems that Gary Lineker in the last few years has developed some kind of addiction, I think, to Twitter. You know, the fame kind of goes to your head. I think his job has been a little bit one-dimensional. He's just been presenting Match of the Day, the football highlights program, for the last. Well, he was on it as a panel, as a what do you call them, a pundit for years, and then he took over in the 90s at some point. I can't remember when exactly, but he took over as a presenter, and he's done that ever since. And he's presented sort of awards to footballers, and that's about all he's done for the last 20-something years, earning millions of pounds in the process. And, you know, power to him, good job, well done. But I guess he's kind of getting bored of that, and he started to talk over the last couple of years about Brexit, about political parties, and, you know, very clearly leaning with a clear political ideology, weighing in on the big issues. Well, anyway, let's see what's happened this time. Keep your political views, whatever they are, and whatever the subject, to yourself, he continued. Lineker responded by saying he could tweet what he likes and would continue to do so. Defiant, yeah, he's well, I'd expect nothing less from the from Gary Lineker. The Match of the Day presenter has often been outspoken on Twitter, regularly writing about Brexit and Prime Minister Theresa May. I like the way they say he's outspoken, as though some kind of rebel. I mean, this is the kind of crap that every, you know, what's the word? What would I describe them as? Certainly almost everyone on the BBC. Let's just say I don't think the things he's saying are very controversial in mainstream press. But anyway, let's go on to see what he did or what happened. So Agnew suggested that he would be sacked. If he followed the Lineker's example. Well, I guess it means if he followed Lineker's example. But responding to the criticism on Thursday evening, the former footballer wrote, "I'll continue to tweet what I like, and if folk disagree with me, then so be it." Jesus, you beautiful rebel, Gary. You renegade, you maverick. Yeah, see, you know, he's not saying anything like me. I mean, if he's, I don't know, man. It's like, as though he was saying something controversial, as though he was some kind of David Icke character and telling us that all the other TV presenters were lizards or something. No, he's not. He's not doing anything like that. David Icke's actually a former footballer. I'm not sure if everyone knows who David Icke is. Have a look at him. He's interesting, an interesting guy. Anyway, so Jonathan Agnew, here we have the tweet. He says, at Gary Lineker, "Gary, you are the face of BBC Sport. Please observe BBC editorial guidelines and keep your political views, whatever they are, whatever the subject, to yourself. I'd be sacked if I followed your example. Thanks." And yeah, got quite a few good responses, retweets and whatnot. Anyway, Gary Lineker replied, replying to Agger's Cricket, replying to Agnew, he said, "Jonathan, I'm the face of my own Twitter account. I'll continue to tweet what I like, and if folk disagree with me, then so be it. Thank you so much for your concern," which that's quite passive aggressive, isn't it? He starts off kind of defiant. He's like, "I'll do what I want. Thanks so much for your concern. Thanks so much for your concern." He's like, who called him a velvet owl? Was that Stuart Lee? He is a bit like a velvet owl. He's just such a perfect, yeah, he does look like a velvet owl. Anyway, thank you so much for your concern. Thank you so much for your concern. Which I imagine wouldn't be a concern at all if you agree with me. So I guess, what he's trying to do there, he's trying to plant in people's minds that Agus is some horrible, racist Brexiteer or something. Which I have absolutely no idea. I guess nobody knows, really, because I guess he's not on Twitter all day talking about politics. I'm guessing, because unless he's a massive hypocrite, I don't... he's kind of saying he has to follow BBC editorial guidelines, and he's criticising Gary Lineker for not doing that. So I'm guessing he's not always ranting on about how great Brexit is. But maybe he doesn't agree with him. I guess, so what Gary Lineker's tried to do there is tried to divert attention onto... so it's what's this called in... Oh, it's an argument technique. It's not exactly a straw man, is it? What is it? He's diverting the attention. Clearly, he's he's trying to say. So yeah, the reason this guy is concerned about my political tweets is because he hates me and he doesn't agree with me, and he's one of the bad guys. We should all attack him. Look at him. He doesn't think that Brexit is a terrible idea. So he's clearly a fiend. What did Gary Lineker tweet? What did he tweet? That's what I want to know. We're getting to the juicy bit now. What did Gary Lineker tweet? What did Gary Lineker tweet? On Wednesday, Lineker posted a thread of tweets as the Conservatives held a no-confidence vote in Theresa May. He also indirectly criticised Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn, implying that the party should be ahead in the polls given the current political uncertainty. I guess, you've got to cover all your bases there, Gary. You wouldn't want any Conservatives that follow you, to get the wrong idea. So, yeah. Maybe that's him trying to follow BBC guidelines, just be completely ambiguous. And I don't know. Extraordinary to watch us take our country back and rip it to shreds in the process. Wow. First there was Aristotle and Plato. I don't know any more Greek philosophers. That's poor on my part. I know Gary Lineker though. I know Gary Lineker. Who was that footballer? Had the name of there's a Brazilian footballer, Socrates. There it is. There's another one for you. And now we've got Gary Lineker. Now Socrates, who was a Brazilian footballer named after a philosopher, and Gary Lineker has become one. Extraordinary to watch us take our country back and rip it to shreds in the process, said the Velvet Owl. Imagine how hopeless you'd have to be to still be behind the Tory party in the polls. The absolute state of our politics. I don't know, man. Looks like you got too much time on your hands, says the guy who's analysing the article about this Twitter storm. Anyway, well, yeah, maybe I have. Why does Jonathan Agnew? Why does Jonathan Agnew object? Yeah, why does he object? Is it because he's a horrible Brexiteer? Ugh. Yeah, is that what it is? Gary Lineker thinks so. Yeah. Aggers, as he's known. Anyway, yeah, Aggers, as he's known, suggested BBC presenters should abide by the corporation's standards on impartiality. Yeah, I think that's fair enough, really. It's certainly a valid opinion. The BBC are pretty good at that. I mean, I've got my sort of opinions and whatever, of course, and then I often see both sides attacking the BBC for being too right or too left, and I think that's a sign of that they do follow pretty strict guidelines. They are pretty impartial. They're pretty impartial, I think. I think, anyone who claims that they're massively left wing or right wing is, I think you've kind of gone off the track a bit. I think it leans too much one way, and I'm sure other people think it leans too much the other way. But no, to be fair, they hide it pretty well. If they're one or the other, they're hiding it pretty well. You're doing a good job of being totally ambiguous, BBC, in my opinion. Anyway, the BBC's editorial guidelines state impartiality lies at the heart of public service and is the core of the BBC's commitment to its audiences. Well, that's good. Another section reads, BBC staff and regular BBC presenters are reporters associated with news or public policy related output may offer professional judgments rooted in evidence. However, it is not normally appropriate for them to present or write personal view programmes and content on public policy, on matters of political or industrial controversy, or on controversial subjects in any area. So yeah, basically that's what Agnew was saying. No, they kind of have to sit on the fence a little bit, try not to give an opinion, because the BBC is supposed to be apolitical, it's supposed to be impartial, and I guess if you're quite okay, yeah, he presents football, but he's also he's very much a part of the BBC establishment. I mean, he's been there longer than he played football. I mean, people associate him completely with the BBC, and if he's not, if he's seen to be leaning one way or the other, then yeah, probably the BBC are going to be seen in that light as well. So I'd have thought they'd want him to kind of stick to these guidelines. But anyway, what is Lineker's defence? Well, here's where I think they do a decent job of trying to cover for him. Lineker falls into a slightly different category, both because of his contract and his role as a sport presenter. A BBC spokesperson said, Gary is not involved in any news or political output for the BBC. Yeah, that's fair enough. I guess he's not. As such, any expression of his personal political views does not affect the BBC's impartiality. No, it doesn't, but I guess, well, I don't know. I'm not sure that too many people can dissociate Gary Lineker's views from the BBC's. Well, I guess you can. I don't know, I guess people are more nuanced than you think at times, but, well, anyway. Lineker only presents sports coverage for the corporation. The emphasis was all wrong there. Lineker only presents sports coverage for the corporation and is not a journalist or involved in any news coverage or commentary. Previously, the corporation has also defended his right to voice his opinions freely because of his contract. So I'm not sure exactly what they're getting at there, but okay. I guess they have a clause in there that says I can rant about Brexit or something. I don't know. In 2016, when he was criticised for some tweets about child migrants, the BBC responded by saying Gary is a freelance broadcaster and this is a personal Twitter account. So here's the thing. I think if he came out and said anything really controversial, like I don't think they'd be able to defend it using that same terminology. Like, imagine if he came out and turned out to be a massive misogynist or racist, which I don't think he will. But imagine if that happened. Could he use that in his defence? I don't know. I guess it doesn't really say what his contract states. Would they then say that his opinions are very obviously dissociated from those of the BBC, that he can express himself as he wants because he's only presenting sport? He's not doing, he's not talking about race and religion and gender politics, is he? No, he just talks about the Premier League. I'm not sure. It kind of feels like he just hasn't said anything very controversial. And this is kind of like a non-story. I don't know, man. I kind of think I've wasted my time. And I've wasted your time, well, those of you who've bothered to watch it. Anyway, that's enough about Gary Lineker. I don't know, man. What else is there to say? What else is there to say?